The episode you just saw was written by Wes Jones, who's here with us. As you can tell from what you've just seen, Wes is a terrific writer. He worked on the HBO series Brink, among others projects, and he'll be back with season 2 of Billions. Willie Reale here. Willie's worked for a lot of different television shows, including Homicide, Life on the Street, a number of others, Blue Bloods, and now on Billions. Fascinating show. I'm curious about, and I know, Willie, you've worked on other shows produced here in New York. Talk about Billions and about kind of the challenges and opportunities about shooting here in New York.
The challenges only have to do with the weather when the weather's not good, and the opportunities are myriad. You have, first of all, there's so many landscapes in New York. You go a half hour upstate into Westchester to Rockland County, and it's a bucolic setting. We shot in episode 5. We shot Iowa, Long Island for Iowa, and it's totally believable. This town is so film friendly that you get your truck permits and all that stuff easily, and the rails are just greased for all that, and you can get great crews here, and most importantly, the acting pool here is just superb, and you can't replicate it anywhere but in LA. And in LA, and I'm just going to say this, people have done so much TV that they feel like TV. In New York, people, they're doing theater and film and television all the time, and all the faces just seem fresher. They're edgier, and you just get more crayons in your box to work with, and it's thrilling.
Wes, I mean, in a way too, I mean, New York and the financial community and just this whole kind of energy really looms large in Billions. I mean, it's like the city really is a character. I mean, how does that, and also both of you being New York writers for some time now, how does that fit into the writer's process and when you're thinking things through?
Well, I think for us, it was less a matter of the city itself as a character, of just being very close to the world which we were trying to portray. And, having that access to people from that world, from like Wall Street and from law enforcement and the U.S. Attorney's Office, like come into the writer's room and get to hear their experiences and firsthand what it's like to be in that world, and then be able to go out and film in and around some of those same places, I think just brings a real authenticity to the world we're trying to portray.
Is it, I mean, and you're dealing with this world of high finance. I mean, that's not the world you guys come from. I guess, how do you educate yourself in that? And how do you make, in a sense, high finance? I mean, how do you make numbers? How do you make billions? Compelling storytelling.
Well, the stakes are high. Millions of dollars are traded every day. There's good guys and bad guys in all of that, and you just, all you need to do is, I have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, and they write about the good guys and the bad guys, and sometimes they're a little bit of both. So I dug into the paper pretty good, and then we had, as Wes said, we had these guests come in that were, and we'll have a lot more this year because now we're kind of popular. I mean, like the people on Wall Street are watching our show. It's about us. And so, they are going to come in and they are going to tell us their stories, and that's going to be, those will be entertaining lunches and entertaining episodes. That's what's going to happen, because they really are going to want to talk. I know they are.
So if you were, I mean, in a way, it's kind of like a lessons learned where you are now. You're on a show, you're working with incredible actors. You got picked up for another season. I mean, kind of looking back at the prism of your careers and where you are now, what's the kind of advice you would give to somebody starting out, somebody who's whether they're a student or they're in that PA job like you were once upon a time, Wes. I mean, what's the most valuable piece of advice if you want to end up being a co-executive producer or a writer on a really compelling series?
Well, if you want, I'll start it. I mean, if you want to write TV or you want to write film, you got to write. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's true. You just have to get up and because if you're a waiter and all you do is wait on table, then you're a waiter. But if you get up every morning and you write and you're a waiter, then you're a writer who happens to have to wait. But unless you're writing all the time, then you can't expect good things to happen. Number one, and secondly, you're not really a writer. You're just someone that wishes they were doing that. And it's you need a pencil. It's not a complicated machine. And you need some ideas, and you need to express them, and sometimes that not sometimes, all the time it requires discipline. I get up super early. I get up so early because that's when I'm able to focus. And I would prefer to be asleep. But if I sleep, then I don't get anything. You know what I mean? It's so simple. But if you want to make a living expressing yourself, then you have to continually explore that and express yourself. Amen.
Very good. I'll just add also be smart. Be smart, read a lot, read as much as you can about current events, about the world, know the way things work, and live life, be like a good, functional human, a go-getter that knows stuff.
When you're working, for example, when the PAs, the junior people on a set, what makes somebody good at that? How's somebody going to get your attention? The attention of the executive producer
Just being smart and just knowing what you need before you need it and getting it for you, doing it, and just that anticipation and that willingness to do whatever without hesitation. That's the most important thing in terms of like what impresses from a low-level job. Is not that sense of like I don't belong here or I'm just biding my time for the next thing to move up the ladder or whatever, but presence,
Yeah.
Be present in the moment.
Yeah, be on the rung you're on. Because we know that you get to whatever, some vaunted title like, which they hand out, believe me. But you get a big title and like, I know that you want to be doing what I'm doing. I know that. It's clear to me. But in fact, what I really need you to do right now is to take really good notes in the room so that when I go over them later, I can like make sense of them and then they will be useful to me. Or thank you. How did you know I needed coffee? Was it because my eyelids were going down? I mean, anybody that can anticipate, what is going to help me, that is going to get my attention, and subsequently will get my sympathy or my interest when we get to the point in our relationship, which is usually down the road, where I'm going to read your script and tell you what it looks like, tell you how I feel about it.
Do we have some questions from the audience? Okay. Gentleman over here.
Yes, how you doing? My name is Richard. I'm also from the Bronx as well. I'm currently in my first semester at my college, and I'm an aspiring screenwriter for the distant future. And I also just wanted to find out, hey, thanks. How difficult is the process of getting an agent, and just the process in general of picking up one or being noticed?
Want to go?
That's one of those things that's a big question, and it's different for everybody. Everybody has their own path. I talked a little bit about mine earlier, and mine was something that was akin to lightning in a bottle. It's hard to replicate. My life changed overnight with one script that I wrote. But I mean, as uncommon as that might be, it can happen. I mean, it's just a matter of getting the right piece of material that connects with people. And anybody's capable of doing it. And if you live around movies in New York for long enough, even in the lower levels, you come to find that people you knew have gone on to other places, and they're people that you can give your script to. Some of your classmates right now probably will be in a position to help any of you later on. So it's about like having those relationships and, you know.
Yeah, the agent thing it's a very tough question. How do you get on the pile? I don't know how you get on the pile, but I know that all I can tell you is write your best stuff, and when it gets onto the pile, and it will some odd way get onto the pile, if it, it's just, if it pops, they'll notice. I mean, the one thing that I'm kind of confident about is that if you write something good, it won't be kept a secret for long. So focus on the work, and the rest of the stuff will come. And I'm sorry, but there is no real answer about the agent thing. I really don't believe there is.
Hi, my name is Sade. This is to piggyback off Matt's question. We talk about how do you get to be in a position of being a showrunner or a writer on the set. You say just be really good at it, but how do you get into that position to be the assistant, to grow and be really good at it? Because to apply is just not good enough these days. To apply for the job, to be a PA or a writer's assistant.
Well, are you talking? You're talking about getting the assistant job, or you're talking about being right? Yeah. How do you get an assistant job? I was never.
How do we get our assistants?
Brian's wife. Somebody
Yeah.
did proofreading for her.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
a lot of that. It's really a lot of that. We had this one assistant on this other show I was working on, and she was somebody's nanny, and that's how she put her foot in the door. This on this other show I was working on, they had been through a number of assistants, and someone said to me, "Oh, we're looking for a new assistant," and and at the same time, that guy Jim Yoshimura that I was talking about, who gave me the gig, his niece was moving into town and looking for an assistant job, and and I said, "Oh, we'll meet Yoshimura," and "Oh, yeah, I've read his stuff. He's really good," and so she got in because of nepotism.
But however,
it's such a who you know thing.
I guarantee you that nanny was impressive in some way.
Yeah.
With what they did, with the nannying or whatever. I mean, you never know. I mean, just be impressive in everything you do, and be in the moment, and do like a really great job at it.
Yeah.
Don't kick it down the road, and also be smart.
Yeah, if she were a crappy nanny, we wouldn't be talking about her.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Soren Pitu. I'm actually one of the alumni from the original Made in New York PA training program, and now I'm an associate producer with the PGA. My question is, as writers, I know there's back and forth with the studio as far as creativity, because sometimes writers are kept on a short leash and they can't do whatever they want to do. What is your relationship with Showtime, the studio?
Showtime is really supportive of this show. I can say that the notes are smart. This is not always the case.
Yeah.
Other times, you just tear your hair out because you feel like people are giving you notes because they want to justify their position. But Showtime has functioned as a really good third eye on this show. And the guys the creators of the show, are very, very, very clear about what the parameters of the relationships in the show are, and what the standard of drama is.
I'll add one thing that's not about Showtime, because Showtime has been great to work with. Some studio notes from my feature writing jobs that I've gotten baffle and confuse you. And you have this initial thing where it's like, oh my God, these horrible hacks in empty suit trying to justify his position, right? And they don't understand what I'm going for at all. But there is something there, because they didn't understand what I was going for at all, and they need to. Somebody needs to. So what you try to look for, even in the worst note, there is a note behind the note that they don't have the vocabulary to say, that there's something that they're responding to that's making them give you this terrible note. and you need to figure out, dig under it and figure out what's behind it.
Okay, over here.
Hi, I'm Brian Edgar. I'm a screenwriter. Wonderful show, Billions. I'm guessing there's quite a narrative roadmap for the first season and now the second season. How much discovery actually happens with each episode, though, in terms of character arc, narrative development, plot twists and turns in that larger spectrum of the first season?
It's a lot of it is mapped out in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, we know we sort of had tentpole events across the season that the guys knew that they wanted. But the moment-to-moment stories and the general story arcs for the individual episodes were very much broken in the room in a very, very collaborative way. And we just, you just talk and talk and talk until someone goes, and then you get a card on the board. And if you get 3 in a day around the room, that's pretty good. Let's get 3 really good cards up, maybe 5. That's a, and then, but it really is, it's kind of fascinating to be writing essentially a novel as a group.
Right.
And you're in a hurry because it's, we're shooting soon,
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Well, nice to meet you. Nice to be here sharing the episode and your insights here. My name is Jacob. I'm from Spain, graduated a month ago in December, actually. I'm working now as a PA for Marvel, and my question is, as an aspiring writer, what would you recommend while being as a PA, which is more in field kind of work, and wanted to transition into writer's office, if that's worth it, or if it's better to kind of do what you did your own way, trying to find an agent and not going through a writer's assistant, but as an actual writer with an agent. And
Yeah, do both if you can. Do your job in the day and have another one at night or early in the morning, whatever works best for you. But I do, there is that question of like, do you want to be in the office in production or do you want to be on the field? I do feel like being like a field PA, like locking up the sidewalk or whatever, or especially on smaller films where it's not an army, where you really get to see what the different people do and talk to the gaffer and all that, is really invaluable experience in terms of like seeing how a professional production works. But it's also like there's a cap to it. There's not much of a ladder out of being a set PA. And so once you have that under your belt, yeah, it may be better to be in development at a production company or on a TV show as an office PA or whatever. Then you get to see a different side of it, and it's where your interest is, basically.
But to Wes's point, be the best PA possible. Just be the greatest, and like everybody, like, God, that guy's really good. And then when the producer comes over and says, you know what, thank you so much at the wrap party. You were so sunny. You're really a good spirit on the set. And thanks a lot. And to which you say to him, thank you very much. And you know what? If there's ever an opening in the office, let me know.
thank you.
Over here.
Thank you guys for coming. My name is Frank Gresham. I'm a faculty member here at SVA. And 2 questions. One is, in the old days, when I was growing up, most television shows were standalones. They weren't typically serialized. And suddenly the paradigm's completely changed, and now all the big hit shows seem to be serialized. How does the individual writer figure into building a series? What are the different components of building a series? How do you start? And then my second question is, if you were to deconstruct the talents of a good scriptwriter, does it come down to cinematographer, being a good cinematographer, understanding the structure of a story? Does it come down to being a good conversationalist and knowing how to write good conversation?
Okay. A writer's room is like a potluck supper. Wes is a really good story man. I'm kind of like a C+ story guy, but I can put some sparkle on this stuff. You can feel us right now. I write like I'm like, he writes like he's like. You know what I mean? And when you're putting together a writer's room, you're casting a room full of people that are going to have some sort of, that guy makes great potato salad, we're going to need his potato salad. That's what happened, and it's the showrunners dictate all this stuff. So Brian and David have a sense of what they need, which is ever evolving, because they figured out some stuff in the first season. They know what they need now. I think we have a writer who's a lawyer coming on next season. That's what I'm told. And that guy's going to be really useful when we're trying to figure out strategies for the U.S. Attorney's Office and stuff like that.
So the showrunners formulate the basic story arc.
Generally speaking, yeah.
And they also, they have the ultimate say on what goes in the show and what doesn't. I mean, they're moderating the discussion. They're the leaders. They're the generals of the thing. Everybody has ideas, and they're the ones that decide if this is a Billions thing that's going to be in the show, that it works or not. They have to have the global view. You have to have the small view, moments and developments. And then everybody, like we said earlier, you talk it all out. You get cards on the board. Every episode is set. What happens? So the guy that asks how much plot twist do you put in your episode, 0. It's the plot is set. What you put in your episode is moments and dialogue and the sparkle and just unexpected phrases and unexpected moments rather than plot, because that's the global view.
We have time for one more question here.
Hello, my name is Erica Howard. I'm from the North Shore of Long Island. I'm part of a film festival there. Had the pleasure last fall of seeing you film out in Roslyn, and heard you're also out in Port Washington, which is great. And also congratulations on the success of the show, which is fantastic to see. I have a question about producing, being that writing and producing are completely different skill sets, of how you were able to start those steps to make the transition to becoming a good producer.
Well, there's a kind of de facto, writers are sort of de facto producers, and then in TV. Yeah. And so when you're covering set, I mean, Wes comes to it with a much more honestly than I do, because he has served on crews and stuff like that. I just sort of waltzed in and fake. I was such a faker in the beginning, because I didn't wow, what is Gaffer? He must have Gaffer's tape. I didn't know what his job was, and then you pick it up over the course of time, and that's how one figures out what producing is. And producers are, some producers are. I think part of the job as a producer is being a producer is to make decisions that are going to keep the train moving, and to understand what the triage in any situation is, and to know whether or not it's really worth going into the second meal penalty. Those little pieces are really important to put together. But you kind of, as a TV writer, you kind of pick it up on the fly.
Yeah, I also want to say the great thing about being writing in TV versus film and features, the director is king in features and the writer is king in TV. Yeah. The head writers are the showrunners of the show, and the director comes in and is a hired gun who does what the showrunners want. And that's a big difference, whereas the director is the tops in film. And everybody in a writer's room, if you've been in one for more than a couple years, you get to be a producer by default. It's just like the ranks. It's just what you're called, and then because you have a responsibility beyond just writing your episode, you're like a guardian of the tone of the show, because you're the one who's there with it 9 months of the year. And certain day players or directors come on, they're there for 2 weeks of prep and 2 weeks of shooting. Yeah. They're the new guy.
Thank you for explaining that, because in film, when you're a writer, it's unless you're invited onto the set,
right?
Or given
Oh
permission, you're locked out. So thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, one quick last question.
I'm Nick Coleman. I'm an actor, writer, filmmaker. Actually, was on episode 3 of Billions.
Oh, you look familiar to me, yeah.
So my question is actually a natural progression from hers, which is if you're a filmmaker and you're wanting to be more of a writer, these days with digital, it's so easy to make things. Do you feel that there's more value, if your interest is being a TV writer, is it more valuable to just write more scripts or to produce the material that you're writing?
That's a really good question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think once you have something that's discrete and you can afford to shoot, and you think it's going to really pop, and you have the horses, and by that I mean you got actors that are going to come in and give you their weekend to do something, you know, that they're not going to get paid to do really because that you can't afford to do that. I think it's really good to have like, because something good can happen from that. So a little of both.
Okay. Well, you gave us a lot of things. So thank you both for being so generous with your time. Wes, Willie, thanks again.
Yeah, I mean, we came up with a story as quickly. Yeah, I mean, we